Okay, we're on. All right, welcome back to our study session. It is September 13th, 2022, and we are on item E, discussion on a potential district school community council or parent advisory committee, as it may be called. So we will turn the time to Mr. Robinson.
Mike Anderson has joined Nikki George and Jen Atwood and myself in working on this. We've done it for several months, for quite a while. We did present this in our workshop in the summer, and just for the public to know, we have settled in on the recommendation from the board, the Jordan Parent Advisory Committee, or JPAC. So that was a recommendation we made over the summer. So we're just some of this will be a repeat to the board because some people are just watching this for the first time. But the reasons why we're looking at doing a committee that would be a parent committee district-wide is there's increased requests for transparency. Also, this can be a great way to educate people of what's going on in our schools and get some good feedback. Really, pre-pandemic, we were engaged with parents at a lot of other different ways, a parent university, town halls. We've tried lots of different things over the time. And so this would be bringing some of this back in a different kind of format. Really, this goes to ends policy 403, where we're trying to create a welcoming culture, fostering an inclusive environment where students feel valued and parents also feel valued, addressing problems with efficiency and concern, and actively partnering with parents to provide educational support for students. And so this committee could help us reach the policy ends that we're looking for. Who would be on this? As a committee, we really feel strongly that it should be the school community council chair. I know we had a discussion about that last time. We're a little bit concerned that having the PTA president or bringing the principal in to try to make the decision makes the election process a little bit longer. Our first meeting's proposed in the mid-October time, and so we thought it might be best just to, at least initially, just have it be the school community chair or a designee that they would designate. And that would take administration out of having to make that decision too and putting them on a spot if two people wanted to be on there. The school community council chair is an elected position where parents are voting for a parent to represent them. 3 board members would be on this committee, but we're also open to, we all thought that we would want to be at that first meeting, but we thought it might be just a great thing to just post the meeting and report and notify the public and any board member that would want to. So that could be a talking point for us in the discussion part of this. But we definitely could in the future rotate, but I thought Nikki, Jen, and I all wanted to be here. Mike Anderson expressed his desire to be there, and Dr. Godfrey's invited, and knowing him, he'll probably be there. And we did look at maybe asking for some help with staff to take notes for that night. So we're proposing that we look for October 18th, 6:30 to 8. Mr. Anderson, were you able to confirm if that's a possibility?
It is. Elk Ridge has a concert that night, but JATC is available.
Yeah, and it might be great to have them here anyways for the purpose of we're trying to connect with the board. So a lot of people in our community have never been here. So it'd be nice to invite people into the JATC Center. So let's go with that. And then we would have a follow-up meeting in January, February time. We were asked to establish some ground rules. We're still working on this. We're going to have at least one more meeting before we have our first meeting, but we want to establish just standing guidelines to avoid inappropriate conversations, and we just want to make these meetings productive. We don't want to rehash problems that they've had. We don't want to discuss character and competence or individual situations that we sometimes got involved with in our last town hall. We want to talk about more general policies and not specific situations. So we'll lay these out. We want to honor and respect everyone's voice and honor our time allotments and stay there and just kind of stay on topic. And so we are going to be working really hard on a great proposal of what the first meeting would look like, and we've already started. And ground rules, we're gonna probably work on that just a little bit more, and we're certainly open to your suggestions and even the suggestions of this new committee. Our first meeting would look something like this. Again, we're still working on this, but kind of introduction of what we have envisioned for this this committee and maybe a unity activity. We would discuss the ground rules. We felt that this is a great time to talk about the role of the board versus the role of administration. We've ran up against that a few times with LEAC when we've been asked to do something here or there, and that's really a role of administration. So this could be a great training ground of explaining the difference of what the board does versus administration. We thought we'd have it in the round table situation if we can, and let people talk in groups, and kind of that first one, just what kind of list out different priorities and put the stickers on what we've done with LEAC of some of their concerns. And then we will kind of digest all of that after the meeting and bring those big concerns back to the board so that we can talk about, okay, how do we want to address this? Do we want to address this with, a town hall? So the meeting follow-up, we want to bring the topics back to the board, but do we want to do it with the parent university, a newsletter, a variety of different ways we can address these issues and educate the public better. So I think that's about it. What questions, topics, concerns that you all have? Always nice when it's quiet, I think. And there's no commitment to this. We want to try this for this year. We're not putting this into policy. We're not committing to years of this. We want to try it at least for this year. After this year is done, we'll relook at it. We don't want to form a committee at this point, but maybe in January, we could look at, does a committee need to be formed to run this, or all that can be discussed, I think, after this first one. As we move into that second meeting, we can kind of make some determinations at that time.
Well, all of our school community councils have met and selected a chair by October 18th.
Yeah, they have.
Would have, yes.
Have to, right?
Yep.
Okay. Question, you mentioned something about more than 3 board members coming. Mr. Van Komen, what's the rule if it's a board meeting, we have to record it and have it available, but if a couple of people are just sitting there listening like it's a town hall?
You try to avoid having a quorum where you're discussing items that you may be taking action on later. That may turn it into a meeting of the board. So that's why you do it in committees of 3.
But that's if all 4 board members are discussing an actionable item. If they're
It depends, but it's not necessary that you have discussion. It sort of depends on the format. So I know I'm hedging, but
We want people to be open enough that they can voice their concerns without being recorded. Like, as board members, we don't have a concern with that at all, but as community members, they may or may not be open to that. We don't want to stifle conversations that they may want to get into. So, so if that means just 3 of us, then that's fine. If somebody feels strong they want to be there, we can talk about us stepping out.
What the format's going to look like.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, any questions? Let's take a motion to decide if this is something we want to move forward with and do.
Want me to make the motion?
Yep.
I make the motion that we form the Jordan Parent Advisory Committee, made up of chairs from the school community councils that would meet semi-annually on the school year.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion to this?
Amending the motion based on what Mr. Robbins said previously, this is 1 year trial.
Friendly amendment, I accept that. That's good.
Readdress next year if we want to keep going.
Yep.
Okay, so we have a motion to start the Jordan Parent Advisory Committee, a meeting semi-annually, and we'll do it for this 1 year and then reassess next year. It will be made up of the chairs of the school community councils or their designee. All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Is there anyone opposed? All right.
So Mr. Anderson, will you start to notify?
Yeah, as part of the next steps, we'll get notices out to the principals so that they can start telling their school community council chairs as those councils start forming and chairs are elected. That happens typically during this month. Most councils will meet for the first time in the month of September, and so by the 18th they should have at least met once, and we'll put those chairs on notice that they're invited to come to the meeting.
And then we'll have one more meeting before, probably just to finish up the agenda. So
Yeah, this committee was formed as an ad hoc committee, but I would think you'd stay together, for
At-
sure,
at
till the end
least-
of this year
at
to get
least
things
until-
up and going. Yeah.
Perfect. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Our next agenda item is discussion on potential revisions to Administrative Policy D200, Philosophy of Instruction. We had our open house last week, which actually turned into a town hall. Good turnout for that. I didn't take a count. Probably about 40 people.
35, yeah.
Okay. And 5 board members there for that. So what I would like to do is get feedback from those board members that were there. And, you know, the big questions are we on the right track? Are we still going in the right direction by combining those 2 policies? And then what are some specific things that you want to see changed? We will be meeting as a committee. It is this week. I think it's Thursday that we are meeting. So we would like your feedback, and then we'll continue to work on some revisions based on that feedback. And I'd also like to add, in addition to the open house that we had, we've received quite a few emails from people with feedback also, and that's all been very helpful. So appreciate that from community members, and then a lot also from our teachers. It's been good feedback. Okay, who wants to start? We had some discussions in the big room, some going out in like little groups too. Anyone? Mr. Robinson, do you want to start?
I guess, yeah. I kind of on purpose sat in the back so I could get a general overview, and I did have an opportunity to kind of watch what's going on. I appreciate the board members who were more engaged than I was with the conversation. I was able to pull several people out and talk to them individually. I thought it was really balanced. I thought we had great voices on both sides of the issue, but a lot of anxiety on both sides of the issues. A lot of like people nervous they're not going to have the policy stated exactly with the wording that they have. They're a little bit worried. I think that I got a sense of a little bit of almost even tension. Maybe that's the right or wrong word, but that teachers feel a little bit threatened by this, and public feels maybe we're not going maybe deep enough. And but I think the policy really is heading in the right direction. I really appreciate the committee's work on this. I certainly will forward any. I've got several comments that didn't come to the board, at least that I know of. I'll send those off to the committee. But I really appreciate the opportunity to listen to each perspective, and I thought it was a well-run meeting. I guess my biggest thing is policies are made to constantly be evaluated and revised until we get it right. So wherever we land to say, hey, it's now time, let's approve this, does not mean different revisions cannot be done in the future. I mean, we're not casting cement around this policy and saying, hey, we'll never go down this road again. In fact, I almost think that this policy at least should be reviewed yearly for the first few years, and just to make sure that we get it right. Policies protect people, and so I really appreciate the direction we're going and the work we're going, and acknowledge that our final product might not be perfect, but it's better than what we had, and it's moving in the right direction.
So, a couple of items that I received consistent feedback on, both as people wanted to talk individually, and I stepped into the hall and then reflected again in some emails. So, first of all, I've heard kind of a general consensus that teachers would like to feel a little bit of protection from their end in this policy, more so than they see now. One of the specific items was where I just had it up. When we talk about providing replacement assignments as requested by parent. So that feels like, so I'm looking at 8C under letter D. That feels pretty vague to a lot of teachers. And what are we putting a lot of extra work on their shoulders if a parent can just say to anything, yeah, I want a replacement assignment, or I'm going to opt my child out of that. Can we ensure that the teachers are able to hit all of the curriculum that is required of them, and to be honest, that we're not overburdening them? So I'd like to see some more specific information added in that area. And then just we as a group heard about proper. What does that word mean? So I'd love to see that replaced by potentially the state approved curriculum instead of proper, just so that we're being really clear about our expectations. So those were the two most consistent pieces that I heard. And then just making sure that our teachers understand that this isn't just ways for parents to come back at them, but these are protections for teachers. And we hope that this policy will provide for them a safe place so that I know that if I'm in this area, I'm protected, that the board will back me. And I don't know if others have that feeling, that maybe we could make that a little clearer through the verbiage in the policy. So those were my big ones.
Thank you.
I concur with what's been said. Several of the emails that I received are along the same lines. The use of the word proper is still not clear. It doesn't clarify what we're really going for here, and perhaps another word, or the fact that they said, let's use the standards from the state board, or however that we want to say that. The other thing was, they brought up the section that says, I think it's in C6, allow for personal expression of beliefs. And they asked right out, what does this mean really? Does this mean a student can just pop out with anything during class, or do we need to add something more along the lines of, so that it does not derail the discussion that's going on, that kind of thing? So maybe a closer look at that. And then along the same lines of the assignments and the waivers, making sure that there was an alternative for those students that was appropriate, whatever appropriate means. Anyway, we had discussions outside of the room and also within the room, and I really appreciated the differing perspectives. It really kind of clarified how controversial this policy can be or is. I especially appreciated the teachers' perspectives. I think we need to really work on letting our teachers know that they are going to be protected by this policy, as well as our students and our community.
Thank you. Mr. Young.
You know, this policy goes right to the heart of what has been a national, all the way down to a kitchen table discussion for the last couple of years. And it's clear from that town hall that there are fundamental differences of opinion as to the appropriate role of public education and what public education does and does not provide, what it is, what is that appropriate role for public education, and to try to thread that needle, I think is perhaps next to impossible, because they are such strongly held beliefs. And if someone genuinely looks at the arguments made, you can find elements that need to be considered on all of the arguments. I do lean very heavily with what has already been said. If at the end of the day this policy does not allow for a teacher to read it and know, if I stay within this line, everybody from my principal to the school board has my back. If this doesn't do that, we need to keep at it. At the same time, if the policy doesn't say to a parent, if you have concerns, here are your reasonable remedies for those concerns, we haven't met that. And to me, that's the eye of the needle that we've got to thread. Is we're not going to end up. The policy can't be at the expense of one or the other. It has to thread that needle, and I think those are the two main objectives, and that's what I walked away as. Does this policy do those two things? Does a teacher reading it, understanding it, know I stay within these lines, I'm safe, and the entire organization has my back, and a parent says, if I have concerns, here are my appropriate reasonable remedies. And so I need to go back and reread it through that lens. I've appreciated all of the comments. I think most of the comments that I've received have been to the board in general, and so I don't need to do specifics. Except there was one from Riverton High School that you had reached out to. Are you going to be able to meet with them?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the only one that, so yeah, I think that's,
Said. I mean, I've been, kind of, I took a whole bunch of notes the night of the town hall, and I've been taking notes since then, and I feel like we're close, but I feel like we need some wording changes. Some things need to be clarified, for sure. And I appreciate it, like all the dialogue the night there. It was, I think it was good for everyone there to kind of hear all sides and hear where people were coming from. It was good dialogue that we had that night. The one question I have is our process for reporting and resolving concerns. Toying with the idea of maybe we need a separate document or handout that we can have on our website or available for parents of this is the process. A lot of teachers that have contacted me have said, can we put something in the process for reporting and resolving current concerns that people are respectful? I've heard that from a lot of teachers. I don't know if you can write that into a policy, but yeah, you can only turn if. So that's one kind of big area, and then also the alternate assignment has received a lot of feedback. I think that area needs some work too. Okay, well, our committee's meeting on Thursday of this week. Oh, I should turn to Mr. Anderson. You were also there. Did you have anything more to add?
I think what's been shared. The only other thing I might add there is that there was a lot of conversation around the guest speakers portion. That's section E. There was varying opinions and questions about how to go about getting permissions for guest speakers, who should be and who should not be included in that.
That's right. And should parents be notified if there's a guest speaker? Those were ones that came up too. Okay.
They also brought up on that whether a bio should be submitted on each one of the guest speakers. Yeah.
Okay, well, the committee will meet we have one meeting scheduled for this Thursday and another one for the following Friday. And we don't have a timeline. I agree with Mr. Young that we'll need to keep working on this till we've met both of those objectives. I think we're getting closer, but we'll hopefully bring back further revisions at our next meeting. But we will not be ready to vote on it by our next meeting. I can say that much. So, okay, Dr. Godfrey, do you have anything to add on this?
No, thank you.
All right. Thank you. And thank you to all those who helped set up that open house and came and participated in it. It was good, valuable.
So if we can't vote it on next meeting, the earliest this could be voted into is October, right?
Correct.
Late October.
I do have to say, while people genuinely had very strong held beliefs that they were sharing, that and using this policy as the avenue to express some of that, I was very impressed with the level of dialogue that was able to go on with individuals that shared very passionate positions.
Yep.
And a level of my faith in the American democratic system was somewhat restored as I witnessed that dialogue. And I think a lot of that has to do with how you led that, President Miller. But there were moments where deeply held beliefs were being shared, and I was appreciative that that the dialogue was able to continue, and that was. I'm still troubled with finding a way forward, but I was appreciative that that dialogue could continue as long as it did with that happening.
Thought it was a learning experience for everyone in the room. Hearing all the different perspectives. Thank you. Okay, we will move on to board member committee and superintendent reports and comments. I know we have something from finance. Do you want to start?
I do. Let me get my notes out here. We had some questions about the fraud risk survey that we have to turn in every year to the state board, to the state. And Nikki, specifically, you had questions as to why we weren't able to answer two of the questions positively. I think you talked with Mr. Larson. Did you get your concerns answered or appropriately, whatever?
Mr. Larson always explains things so clearly, and he's very helpful. I do think it's something I'd like to see the board circle back to at some point, but.
Yeah, we talked about it in our committee meeting, and you're aware that we worked on policy DP 381 last spring and edited that and updated it, and we were able to raise our score on that survey.
Can you just help?
There are. It is the one on employee code of ethics. Do you recall that
I
one?
do.
Yeah.
Name it or describe it, and I'll remember it. Number, and I will never.
I'm sorry. I should have said that. Forgive me. Anyway, so I think the idea of maybe bringing it back and revisiting that. However, we decided to perhaps wait until the first of the year when we had new board members, so that we're not duplicating that effort. So that's kind of where we're going right now. We'll go ahead and turn this year's survey in because we have to. We got to get it in. And then we'll revisit that in maybe January or sometime in the first part of the year. Is that okay with everyone? Okay. The second.
And this goes to the state auditor's office, right?
That's correct. I'm sorry. Yes, it is. It's the auditor's office. Correct. The other thing that we have been working on is that activity report that we were asked to maybe come up with some kind of a template on that activity funding issue. And John and his staff have come up with, I don't know if we can call it a template, but it is a form that shows the fund balance for all of the activities and teams in the high schools. And the administrative assistant in any of the high schools can pull that up at any time for any team or activity and be able to give them that information. We suggest that it be done perhaps at least quarterly. We've talked about that so that teams and activities know exactly where they stand as far as their fund balance. Any questions on that activity report template or how it can be changed, or will that suffice? The issue with making a specific template is it was very hard to couple that. Help me with the name of our computer program. Yeah, the Skyward one. Why couldn't I pull that up? It was hard to couple Skyward and the information and be able to come up with a template that, could give us the information. It's already on Skyward, and so We just felt like maybe this could suffice for what you need. Have you looked at it? And what do you think? It's just a draft. We're just working on it.
I would just like to include that the administrative assistants in the schools were helping with this as well.
Oh, that's correct. I know that they were, the staff and the administrative assistants were working on this particular issue, and hopefully it will work for our teams and activities.
What is the difference between organization membership and participation fees? Because I see participation fees and I assume that's what they're paying.
Up front.
What is organization membership?
Can you answer that, Mr. Larson? I know that you were working with them on that.
Organization membership is more of the dues, like a club due, whereas a participation fee is a required fee for their participation in an athletic event that covers general fees. So
Why would I have both?
because the state separates them as such. They're
But-
reported differently.
If we're operating under a world of, because this is one, I assume this is one activity, this is one team
Right.
that we're looking
Right.
at.
Yeah.
So why would I have both organizational membership and participation fees if everything is paid up front in the registration fee?
Well, participation fee is for the athletic event. Registration fee is more for the academic school year. And organization membership is more for their participation in club activities, not in the sport itself. So
I'm not, if I'm a football team, if I'm a football member, am I paying both organizational fee and participation fee?
my understanding is yes.
Why?
I don't know.
I mean, you have a participation fee, it's like $250.
Hmm.
Is that, and then there's other things like Spirit Pack and.
If you want, I can come back with better examples of organization membership, but that's just my understanding of it. It's just a different code where it's split out separately. But if
Are we
on
paying
this,
one fee and then it's getting split two ways in the system?
no,
Or are different things coded in different areas?
Or is there a
di-
certain,
different things coded to different areas.
is there a certain percentage of the general or the participation fee that's going to the organization membership?
No,
So where is the organizational membership coming from?
my understanding is that it's the club dues.
I'm paying club dues and I'm paying participation fees.
Yes. Oh, I can come back and look at that further.
Back with more information on that.
Yes, please do, because
So,
I have operated for the last number of years with the assumption that the only thing we were asking our athletics to pay is what we were going to state on the actual fee
Schedule,
site,
yeah.
schedule.
Yeah.
And what I'm hearing from you is that they not only pay that, but they have some sort of club participation that they're paying?
So again, I'll have to come back, but it could be that this is the optional items are up on one line and then the required items are on the next line. As I reread this, I'll have to come back with that.
Oh, I guess one more thing. From Utah High School, Schools Activities Association, a big problem with sportsmanship. Perhaps you saw the news clip about the Little League football team in Harriman. And it it's getting worse. And somehow we need to get a grip on the sportsmanship part of things. I know that the high schools are really working on it. They've had some issues even with volleyball tournaments and games. And it's specifically with adults.
That's what I was going to ask. Are they seeing a change in student behavior, or is this primarily the parental
Yeah,
behavior?
the way I'm hearing it, it's the adults for the most part. And it's mostly guided and focused on the referees or the umpires or what have you. I just, I don't know an answer, but I know that the high schools are really working on different ways to try and curb that. I know that it's requiring more administrative supervision.
So
We don't
the
need that.
The Activities Association is placing the onus on our principals and administration to police the parents as well as the students, because I can appreciate
I understand.
the responsibility for the student body. And as I watch our principals engage, it's a masterful dance and balance that they do between allowing them to be teenagers and have fun.
That's true.
And I mean, they just do a masterful job. But is the Activities Association saying, in addition to that, you all are responsible ultimately for the parental?
And I don't know that the Activities Association is saying that. It's just a matter of, it's just spilling over into all of our activities. Unfortunately, Superintendent, do you have any input on that? I know that you've talked to many of our principals about it, haven't you?
There is an expectation that the crowd as a whole is under the control of the administration, or is the responsibility of the administration. So it becomes very difficult in the way that we described earlier with policy D200 and in conversations I had even in this last principal meeting. We don't have the level, we have responsibility perhaps without control always. So that's a very difficult aspect of running an athletic event. Ask any high school administrator about enforcing COVID rules at an athletic event.
That's true.
When parents were not compliant with that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very difficult position that administrators are placed in.
I would imagine, and I know what the proposed solution would be from our administrators on how to really solve this problem with the parents, but.
Yes,
That's right. That's
Well,
right.
And I think one thing that parents and spectators need to be aware of is that if we can't have referees, then we can't have games. And I'm hearing more and more and more that we're having a hard time finding referees because of the treatment that they're getting from the spectators.
It's accurate. That's very accurate.
We cannot continue to act the way that spectators are acting and be able to have the availability to the access of these events.
Well, that and the fact that it's modeling
Yes.
poor behavior. Absolutely. For sure. So anyway, just so that you're aware of that. Any update that we could have on maybe boys volleyball?
I would note before we go there is that even though we do have struggles with parents in the crowd, I would emphasize that we have many very supportive parents.
That's true too.
Who put in a lot of time and money and appropriate support at events.
Thank you. That is
But-
absolutely true.
But with those rare exceptions, it becomes very difficult for administrators to deal with.
And I guess that's what I'm trying to indicate is parents should hold each other to a certain standard. Not that we want altercations happening but our principals have enough
Right.
Yes.
on their plate
Absolutely.
to work with our students, and we as parents and grown adults need to raise our level of expectation for those that we're with.
Agreed. Boys volleyball will be an agenda item soon. We're looking at the Title IX aspect of that before we bring that to the board so that we can give clarity about the Title IX implications associated with that possible addition.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted an update on that. And this is just an FYI. Nothing that you have to necessarily respond to, but West High School is doing both boys and girls lacrosse, and they've joined our region just for those sports, just a FYI.
Anything from facilities?
We were able to attend the delegates assembly since our last meeting. The JLC priorities were voted on and solidified at that meeting. I should have put a copy on board docs. I apologize that I didn't, but we'll make sure we do that next time. We're a lot of suggestions that were made by members of our board were not supported, but Mr. Robinson was able to get some traction talking about impact fees and requesting a study that was well received. So well done, you. And then the Government Relations Committee was able to meet. We're slowly trying to invite representatives in to meet with us. We had another good visit this last week with Cheryl Acton, and we're just slowly trying to make sure that we're reaching out and increasing those relationships with our state leaders, and we're so grateful for their willingness to come and visit with us. I think that's it for now.
Okay.
I got something. So we're trying to come up with a day for the dedication of Oakleaf Elementary School, and it's been pretty hard. So Mr. Dunford works on Wednesday and Thursday. I work on Thursday nights, and so I'd really like to have Bryce there. October's going to be pretty hard to pull off just because we already have a ton of meetings as the board already planned. So we have a week fall break, which makes it a little hard too. And we've adjusted our meeting schedules. So my proposal is to see if we can't do it on a board night. So we've done this before in some of the other dedications where we've had the board meeting. We had it at Golden Fields, right? I think we even did another one where we had the board meeting at the school, took a break, dedicated the school, and went back. So originally I was thinking November 1st, Tuesday would be great, but that's a regular board meeting, a general one. Those are a little more problematic, I think, to have there. Yeah, so the study session would be the 15th. I'm technically out of town for work on that day, but I could fly back and make sure that, you know, I'm back in town for that if we decide the 15th. The 8th is election day. That would be perfect, but I also don't think that's a good night to have it if it's election night. But so I guess the best one would be the 15th, if the board's okay with doing it on a board night.
It is kind of odd how our meetings go.
Yeah.
Study session, or I'm sorry, our general session on November 1st, and I think that was because of fall break. And
Yeah.
then we have our study session the 15th, and then we have another general session on the 29th.
And you have Thanksgiving that other week. And Harriman City's meetings are on Wednesday night too. I think we didn't want to be a little weary with scheduling on them. So we keep working at it if you want, but I could always arrange one of my nights on, get someone to cover for me, but if we want to do it on a Thursday, but
Mr. Larson, what were you going to say?
I was just going to mention that streaming would be very, very difficult Yeah,
That's true.
we can do the recording, but streaming would be very difficult. Not impossible, but it would be difficult.
Do we have to stream?
Don't
In our
have to.
Practice. Practice.
Our public's getting used to the fact that we're streaming our meetings. What does everyone think?
That comment just made me a little confused because I haven't been at one where we did this. So, do you hold the whole meeting at the new school, or you just take a break and drive back and forth?
We did that at Golden Fields. Our board meeting was
Library?
at Golden Fields in the library. We paused, went into the gym, dedicated the building, and then came back and continued our board meeting in the library.
That was pre-streaming days.
We did something at Mountain Ridge too. It wasn't during the dedication.
was just
That was
a-
a different.
That was just a
Yeah.
board that wasn't the dedication. We just decided to hold a board meeting there in our new
So
facility.
that we could take a tour, yeah.
Yep. But that was pre-streaming as well.
Why is it difficult to stream from a school? Oh,
Yeah, all this
Grimston.
equipment is, it's not portable. It's all hard into the building here.
doing it off my cell phone probably is more problematic. That makes sense.
It's, these,
It's streaming it versus streaming it effectively.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's really,
there you
that's good.
go.
That's a good.
I mean, the truth in taxation, they were able to pull off what I consider, it was just great, what they were able to do there. But could they do that again? Oh, they probably could. But it's a lot of extra work. That took a great deal of the day.
Or we could do it on the 16th. Mr. Dunford wouldn't be able to come, and he's okay with that. But
What about a Monday? Do you avoid Mondays?
we could do it on a Monday maybe.
14th, maybe?
I'm out of town on the 14th. Even the 15th, I have to fly back in early. But could we do it on the 7th? November. What day is your birthday?
Don't worry
Of
about it.
November.
Let's. You still have those? Well, for sure we should do it on your birthday.
Nope.
The whole community sing happy birthday to you. What about the 7th?
Are we in November?
Uh-huh.
I will be out of town, but that's okay.
Next to impossible, get everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
not
okay.
the key
Bryce, are
player
you
here.
okay with Monday?
Yeah.
Let me propose the 7th and well, I'll be I can't do the 14th for sure because I'm out of town for work, but you can also do it without me too.
I think that both you and Bryce need to be available.
I would like both of us to be there, but yeah. So let me throw that date back to the school and let me ask Harriman City if they have a conflict, and let's look towards the 7th. I will let everyone know when we get some confirmations and send out a save the date. And we'll start working on it.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else? I just want to add, today we had, Mr. Robinson and I both attended a meeting with Riverton City. It was a safety roundtable where they met with our principals and discussed different safety issues, and just wanted to pass along. One of their focuses has been not just the physical safety, but also mental health to their city. And they've hosted a couple times a year these live in real life events, and they've got another one coming up on September 26th. It's at Riverton High School, and that's in conjunction with Jordan District. We help sponsor that event and encouraging parents, teenagers to come out. There'll be a couple of great speakers and a band. And that's on September 26th. Dr. Godfrey.
I attended that same meeting, and I appreciate Riverton's focus and the opportunity to have those conversations. We have great conversations with all of our cities in various forms, and it was nice to have everyone in the same room at the same time today. We also have, communications department and I have presented about the podcast a couple of times, and we've now been approved to present at the AASA conference, the National Superintendent Association conference in February in San Antonio. So looking forward to that. And we're aware of a few new podcasts out there, so it's kind of fun to be part of that conversation. So, and just kudos to everybody on a launch to the school year. I feel like it's been a really good start. There are always the normal bumps, but I'm hearing a lot of positive things out there, and I appreciate the role that the community plays in that, the parents and students play in that, and our employees, of course, and the hard work they've done to make that happen. So, good things happening.
Been in several of my schools the past couple days and just hearing a lot of really positive responses as to how the school year has started. Feels much different.
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ask, what time is the activity at Riverton High?
On September 26th. I know.
You want us
I think doors open at 6 and the event starts at 7, but there's like a lot of vendor and public community resources that'll be there. You can come to booths starting at 6.
The
program
keynote
at 7.
speaker is Josh Downs, and he's done a lot with mental health in South Jordan and stuff like that. So he's been working in our schools. So starts at 7, doors open at 6.
Okay, anything else? All right, that is the end of our agenda, at least our open session. We still have a closed session ahead of us. So thank you all for coming and participating and being with us. I will take a motion now to go into closed session for character and competence of individuals, property, potential litigation, negotiations, and security. And yes, we have all 5.
Make a motion to go into closed session for character and competence of individuals, property, potential litigation, negotiations, and security.
Okay, motion by Ms. Atwood, second by Ms. George to go into closed session. All in favor, please say yes. Yes. Anyone opposed? That motion passes unanimously.